So today I'm going to make spaghetti sauce to can. And I went to the store yesterday, our farm market, and I was able to pick up 25 pounds of tomatoes for $25. And I haven't had a whole lot of success with making it, so I actually really liked it. Ended up dumping a whole bunch of more spices and stuff after I opened the cans. This one here, I did a batch last night. I thought, oh my God, I love this stuff. So today I am doing another batch. Out of the first half a box, I got 7 2.5 cup jars spaghetti sauce, the old spaghetti sauce jars, you know, the Atlas jars that they and I got 7 jars out of it, out of the first half, and I will get another 7 out of the second half, and that puts 14 jars out of that $25. And I saw a flyer yesterday for spaghetti sauce, and it was $3.99 a jar. So I have a huge savings in these tomatoes and this spaghetti sauce, because it calls for 5 onions, 5 cloves of garlic, half a bushel of tomatoes, and I buy Roma because there is more meat, less juice in the Romas. So, and then it calls for basil and a few other ingredients. And then you cook it in the oven. Well, I do it in the oven. They put it in a roaster, but I do mine in the oven. And I do it at 350 for 5 hours. And you have your spaghetti sauce. It calls for onions, peppers. I don't put peppers in it because I don't like peppers. Bay leaves, 4 bay leaves, tablespoon of dried oregano, 2 tablespoons of basil, 1.5 cups of olive oil. Now I only put 1 cup of olive oil in it, and I think you only need the olive oil to keep the tomatoes from sticking until the juice, they start cooking down. 1/3 cup of salt, 1 cup of sugar. Now I didn't put a full cup of sugar in. I only put 3/4 cup last night. 6 buds of garlic, which is 6 cloves of garlic. And it called for tomato paste. I didn't use any tomato paste because I cooked them overnight. I cooked them for about 5 hours last night at 350, and then I turned it down to 200 and went to bed. Got up at 6 o'clock this morning and it was all done, so I didn't need to do it. Use the tomato paste, because the longer you cook them, the more they cook down. And they cook down in half of what I had put in it. So I am dicing the tomatoes, and now I dice the tomatoes. See the difference in the Roma? There's more meat in the Roma than there is in a beef steak or the other tomatoes. There's a couple other brands of tomatoes that you can buy too, but they're a little harder to get here. So I just stick with the Roma because they're easy to get. And they're relatively cheaply priced when you buy them in bulk for canning. And there's very little core in the Roma. Once in a while I'll have to cut a bit of a core out, but there's very little of it in there. So I just have these little bit of tomatoes left to dice, because I diced the other half, the bulk of them, before I even turned you on. So now, when you guys are watching my canning videos, you will see that I do not have a stainless steel kitchen. I just have the normal kitchen that everybody else has got. I don't have brand new equipment. My knives are old, my pots are old. So you don't have to go and buy a whole bunch of stuff in order to be able to can. Now, because I don't sell any of my product, I use it strictly for home consumption. I don't worry about all the stuff that you have to worry about if you're selling it. So if you got a stainless steel kitchen, and I have a food safe. I've done my food safe course. And people can squawk or whatever they want about the stuff that I use, but it doesn't really matter because it's for my consumption. And yeah, so I'm going to finish dicing these tomatoes up. I dice them up small so that they cook down faster. A lot of the recipes call for cutting them into quarters. They take a while to cook down when you cut them into quarters. So I dice them up into relatively small pieces. And besides that, I can get more in the pot. So I'll bring you back when I start putting this stuff together, after I finish dicing these up. Okay, so now we're down to garlic. It calls for 6 buds. And because we really like garlic, last night I had added additional garlic to the recipe, and it turned out really well. So I am going to add more garlic today, but I'm peeling all of this bulb, big bulb, because I have to make more tomorrow. So this is what I do, is I layer the ingredients, put it in about halfway through, because it's going to heat up first before it gets to the top. So what I've done is I've emptied out half this pot and put it into a bowl. I'm going to put my every 3/4 of everything into it. It's a pretty big bulb of garlic. And then I'm going to put the rest of the tomatoes in the pot. Then put the balance of it in there. So it calls for 1/3 cup of salt. I'm going to put half the salt in. 1 cup of sugar, but I don't want a cup of sugar, so I'm going to put just 3/4 cup in. Now, when you do any canning like this, pre-done foods, if you have a spaghetti sauce recipe that you really like, use it. Nothing says that you have to follow a guide for making it. You only have to follow it for canning it. And if you want to can, a good time to start planning is now, or because people, like I've noticed lately, there's quite a few jars for sale on the buy and sell sites, and that's where I get mine. Now, a lot of the jars that you get that you can use, like I use the spaghetti sauce jars, reuse them. They fit a regular size canning lid. I got a basil here. Two tablespoons of basil. Yep. A tablespoon of oregano. We'll put all the oregano down the bottom here. And then there's 5 large onions. Now I'm just going to put most of these onions in here now. And then I'm going to dump the rest of these tomatoes in. some more garlic in here. This is done. This is then moved into the oven, and it's cooked with no lid on it, and you stir it occasionally, which is going to be perfect. When it was cooking last night in the oven, I so much wanted to dig right into it. It almost made me think of bruschetta. Okay, so oregano, we have all that we need. Basil. Rest of the salt. Rest of the sugar. And the rest of the onions. Right, and it needs some olive oil apparently. Start my oven. And it calls for 1.5 cups. I don't think it needs 1.5 cups. So I put about 3/4 cup in there. So that is it for getting this part done. Now it cooks in the oven for about 5 hours, stirring occasionally.